Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of the latest mission from Vandenberg Space Force Base. I'm Will Robinson-Smith. I'll be conducting our commentary for the duration of this coverage. We're broadcasting, as we always do, from the Spaceflight Now News Bureau here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Hope you're all having a good week as we are so tantalizingly close to the weekend. Just one more day to go. But hopefully you've had a good and productive either work or school week, or, as I said earlier in the week, if this is your spring break, I hope you've been enjoying it and am immensely jealous. But very grateful that you're spending part of your Thursday with us here as we prepare to see the launch of the latest Falcon 9 rocket with a batch of 27 Starlink V2 Mini satellites getting ready to launch in just shy of 28 minutes from now. Been quite a busy day on the space beat, and we'll try to cover a few of the highlights here. But before we get too much further with our coverage, I want to thank, of course, our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, who's running the technical operations of the broadcast. John Pisani is also the man in the chair today. So they're both working behind the scenes. Our other photographers have this launch off since this is a West Coast venture. They'll be back in action for the upcoming launch from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, launch of the Starlink 6-72 mission on tap for Saturday, April 5th. I want to thank our moderators in the live chat who are helping us out tonight. Jeff Hansen, Callistia Lee, Aussie Space Girl, Mark Otto. Appreciate all of you. Just doing a quick scroll to see if there's anybody else that I'm not seeing. If you do see any of the other moderators cruise on in, be sure to give them a big ol' hello. Of course, we are powered by a wonderful channel member community here on YouTube and make these live launch opportunities possible. So thanks to folks like Butterfly, Joni Mahoney, Cumulus Granadis, Lily, Red Sky, The Rocket Girl, My Honey, and many others. Channel membership comes with a number of perks, including discounts at our online shop, that is shop.spaceflightnow.com. Access to our member-only videos here on YouTube, access to our members-only Discord server, and of course the ability to watch all of our live launch moments from here at the Cape in 4K. The last time that SpaceX was targeting this mission was on Tuesday evening. The company didn't state a reason for the scrub from Tuesday to Thursday, but we did hear from a lot of you on our social channels that it was quite windy out there. In fact, we could see the jet stream just cruising like a river of clouds right over Vandenberg. Taking a look at the weather outlook this time, though, this is a live view from the GOES West satellite looking down towards Central California and Vandenberg Space Force Base. You can see a nice little pocket of clear over the Space Force Base, so should be pretty nice ascent, though, even though it's clear over the launch site itself, it looks like there's still a decent amount of broken up clouds across the Golden State, and certainly as you move further into the southwest. So hopefully wherever you are watching from tonight, you've got a decently clear view. And if you do happen to catch the Falcon 9 as it makes its ascent coming up here in just about 25 minutes, be sure to tag us on our social channels. You can find us just simply at Spaceflight Now. We are on X, Blue Sky, Threads, and Facebook. Of course, the time for liftoff, 6:02 p.m. Pacific, 9:02 p.m. Eastern, 01:02 UTC. Now, SpaceX does have some margin left in its window if it needs to bring that into play. The window extends to 7:38 p.m. Pacific. So as long as had they not started fueling, I should say, they would have had some additional time, but we do have word that fueling has begun, which means they are locking into that 6:02 p.m. Pacific liftoff time. Also want to thank the nearly 2,000 of you who are with us live here as we're getting things rolling. If you haven't already, just do a big favor by just clicking that like button, share the stream. Also want to welcome in some new channel members. It's a lot of gifting happening tonight. Let's see, Rick Donner gifted 10 Spaceflight Now memberships. Callistia Lee gifted 10 as well. Jeff Hansen gifted 5. Michelle Mensch-Kilburn joined with channel membership at the pad leader level, as did Lily. So to both of you and to our 25 gifted channel members, welcome aboard to all of you. We're glad to have you with us. To those who received membership through gifts, be sure to thank Rick, Callistia, and Jeff in the live chat. We hope you decide to stick around with channel membership. Last but not least, if you have a comment or question about this mission or other happenings in the realm of space and spaceflight, be sure to go ahead and use that YouTube Super Chat feature. We'll be keeping an eye out for that. Not only will you be giving us some interesting things to talk about as we cruise on through the count, but you'll be supporting what we do here at Spaceflight Now, and that, my friends, is always greatly appreciated. In the realm of notable things that have happened since we were last with you back when the Fram-2 astronauts launched on their multi-day free flyer mission, seen a lot of stunning imagery from that 4-member crew as they've been orbiting the poles for the last few days. Some extremely unique experiences for this historic flight, so I highly encourage you to check that out over on Mission Commander Chun Wang's Twitter feed. Post some good videos that were retweeted by SpaceX. Also, in the interim, post liftoff of Fram-2, we have a launch date for the first batch of Amazon's Project Kuiper Internet satellites. We're now less than a week from the target launch date for that. That is Wednesday, April 9th, with a launch window, a 3-day launch window opening at noon. So look for coverage of the Kuiper launch coming to this feed very soon. Of course, if you want to read more about the mission, as much as we were able to gather from Amazon and its limited willingness to talk about its satellites, you can find an article up on our website right now, spaceflightnow.com, talking all about both the mission that is forthcoming as well as a little bit on ULA's first launch and what they've got on tap for the rest of 2025. Also today, for those who are fans of the Artemis program, we've got a look at the mission patch for the Artemis 2 crew. That was also just dropped today. And as we speak right now, the folks at the Kennedy Space Center have projected the mission patch onto the side of the vehicle assembly building. You can see it right there underneath the NASA meatball. The Artemis 1 mission patch was designed by the program, but true to other crewed missions, this mission patch was designed by the 4 folks that are going to be flying on board the Orion spacecraft under the Artemis 2 mission. As, of course, Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialist Christina Cook, as well as mission specialist and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. Artemis 2 is set to fly no later than April of next year. The goal is to try to reduce that work. And in fact, later this month, the Orion spacecraft will be turned over from the folks at Amentus, which has the Comet contract and works with NASA's exploration ground services to do the integration and processing on the various components of the Space Launch System rocket and making sure they all come together to form one cohesive rocket. That's going on right now inside of High Bay 3. Most recent bit of super active visual work in that regard was the installation of the core stage in between the solid rocket boosters in High Bay 3. And actually, you can see off to the right-hand side in this live picture, you see that structure that's lit internally and sort of rises into the darkness. That's the Mobile Launcher 2, which, as designed, will support the Artemis missions from Artemis 4 and beyond, since, as it's currently architectured, the Space Launch System rocket that'll be used on Artemis 4 and beyond will not use the interim cryogenic propulsion stage from United Launch Alliance that the first three Artemis flights will use, but instead use the Boeing-designed exploration upper stage, which is currently in construction. Currently T-minus 17 minutes in counting on the launch of the Starlink 11-13 mission. Let's go ahead and take a moment to talk about the countdown timeline where we have been. We'll step lively through the events that we've already passed and let you know what's coming around the bend. Just since we're 30 seconds from it, though, I'll just call the audible and say they're about to start loading liquid oxygen on board the Falcon 9's second stage. But around T-minus 38 minutes is when the SpaceX launch director made the call on the start of prop load, which began at T-minus 35 minutes with loading of RP-1, a rocket-grade kerosene on board the Falcon 9's first and second stages. At the same time, liquid oxygen began flowing on board the Falcon 9's first stage. T-minus 30 minutes is when cryogenic helium began loading on board the Falcon 9's first stage. Same was true in the second stage a few minutes after that. Helium is important because it's used to pressurize the main propellant tanks during flight. T-minus 23 minutes, second stage RP-1 loading wrapped up. T-minus 20 minutes and 50 seconds is when they started thermally conditioning the feed lines of the pad in preparation for the process that is just begun, second stage liquid oxygen load. Coming up next, we have the chill down of the 9 Merlin 1D engines at the base of the Falcon 9 rocket. SpaceX will flow a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps and help protect the engines from the risk of thermal shock and damage during the startup sequence. 6 minutes out, the first stage kerosene tank is full. Then at T-minus 4.5 minutes, we'll see the strong back retract sequence. That's when the clamp arms just beneath the payload fairings will open up, and the transporter erector, or the strong back, reclines about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket. And here at Vandenberg, it stays in that position up to and through liftoff. T-minus 3 minutes, the first stage liquid oxygen tank is fully loaded. Same is true on the second stage, about a minute afterwards, at which point the Falcon 9 is fully topped off with 1 million pounds of propellant. In the final minute, as we hear the call of the Falcon 9 is in startup, control of the countdown is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers, and the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. SpaceX launch director will give their go for launch 45 seconds before liftoff. The engine ignition command is issued at T-minus 3 seconds. And of course, if all 9 Merlin engines are healthy and ignite, the command will be given for the hold-down clamps to release the Falcon 9 rocket for a T0 liftoff coming up in just about 14 minutes at 6:02 p.m. Pacific, 9:02 p.m. Eastern, 01:02 UTC for those around the world. Speaking of around the world, there are going to be a lot of folks from around the space world all gathering in the Colorado Springs area next week. Of course, that is the start of the 40th annual Space Symposium. believe it's billed as the largest space conference here in the United States. Happy to say that we'll be going this year, and very excited to see all of the various vendors and hear a lot of great talks, talk with a lot of really insightful people. So lots of good conversations and stories and videos coming down the pike from that for you all. And if you happen to be going to Space Symposium and see me as I'm bopping around there, be sure to give me a hello. It's always great to see folks from this community out and about in the real world. And of course, doing on the ground reporting, as is the case with going to Space Symposium, is certainly not an easy lift, and it's made possible by our, again, wonderful channel member community here on YouTube and the folks that help support us month over month with ventures like this. So if you haven't already, a quick and easy and free way to help support our content and our reporting just by clicking the like button, share the stream, but also subscribe to the YouTube channel here. That would be fabulous. And if you are able to join as a channel member, that is also exceedingly helpful as well. Now, T minus 11 minutes and about 30 seconds. Let's go ahead and talk about where this Falcon 9 is going to be flying once it leaves the pad tonight. Let's talk a little trajectory, shall we? Once it lifts off from Space Launch Complex 4 East, Slick 4E, the Falcon 9 will fly in a southeasterly trajectory following the green arc there on your screen. First stage booster is going to be targeting a touchdown on the drone ship called, of course, I Still Love You. If successful, this will be the 123rd booster landing for that particular drone ship and the 426th booster landing to date. Booster on tap for today, B1088, making its 5th flight so far. This booster has supported a number of prominent missions, including the NROL 126 flight, the Transporter 12 smallsat rideshare mission, a rideshare mission for NASA, SphereX, and Punch, and one more mission for the National Reconnaissance Office. That was NROL 57. In addition to attempting to recover the first stage booster, SpaceX will also endeavor to recover the payload fairings at the top of the Falcon 9 stack. They'll splash down in the waters of the Pacific Ocean under the support of steerable parachutes. Once on board, SpaceX will put them on a recovery vessel like the one you see here on your screen. I believe they use the recovery vessel Go Beyond here on the West Coast still. And that'll be brought back into port, refurbished, and turned around for future flights. Taking a look at the live chat here, I want to thank a couple of folks for their support this evening. Our thanks to Matthew Booth for a $10 super chat. It says, hello, launchies. Hello, Matthew. And a thanks to Don Flea as well for a $10 super chat. Appreciate the support tonight. Now T-minus 6 minutes and counting. At this point, SpaceX has begun flowing oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps to help thermally condition the engines. And the first stage kerosene tank should also be full at this point. We're just about a minute away from the strong back retract. We should have pad level views coming up here in about 30 seconds or so. So far as we can tell, all moving smoothly with the preparations for the Starlink launch coming up here in just about 5 minutes.
Strong back retract has started.
And as you just heard and can see, a decent bit of clouds there off to the south of the pad, but no fog that's obscuring the Falcon 9 rockets. So, we'll take the winds as they come. As you see there, the clamp arms beneath the payload fairings have opened up. The strong back now in motion. It'll pull back about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket and stay in that position through liftoff.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
Good call on stage 1 LOX load. We're waiting for a similar call now on the Falcon 9's second stage. Coming up on the conclusion of second stage LOX load.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
Ground gas closeouts.
coming up on T-minus 1 minute for flight.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Just waiting now for the SpaceX launch director to give their go for launch.
LD is go for launch.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and step back on our commentary, listen to the final 30 seconds of the count with you, and be back on the other side with some additional comments through flight.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff of the Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go Starlink.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Vehicle is pitching downrange. Power and telemetry nominal.
And a good liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket as we approach 1 minute into flight. Max
Vehicle is
Q
supersonic.
is coming up next as Falcon 9 traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
Good call for Max Q. Good views of the California coastline as the Falcon 9 continues to climb. In just about a minute, we'll see a few events in fairly rapid succession. First will be first stage main engine cutoff, or MECO, at about T+2 minutes and 25
MVAC
seconds.
chill.
That call for MVAC chill, the thermal conditioning of the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. Following MECO, there will be stage separation and then the ignition of that Merlin vacuum engine just past 2.5 minutes into flight. Payload fairings will be deployed at about the 3-minute mark. About 10 seconds to MECO.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
Good calls from SpaceX. You see the hypersonic grid fins deploying there. Getting an interesting peek at the Starlink satellites from an angle that don't believe we've seen
Fairing
before.
separation confirmed.
Payload fairings have separated. And it looks like instead of looking up at the payload stack, we're looking down towards the stage adapter, or what's holding the payloads to. Now a little more than 4.5 minutes into the mission so far. Certainly an odd view of what appeared to be the payload fairing separation. You could see at least one fairing half that was descending back toward Earth, just off of the side of the engine nozzle, the Merlin vacuum engine. Just going back and scrubbing through the video here. And now you're looking up at the interstage adapter on the left-hand side of your screen. Coming up on 6 minutes into flight. The next milestone we're looking for is the first stage entry burn to begin. So when SpaceX will use 3 of the 9 Merlin engines on the Falcon booster to begin to slow the vehicle down.
Stage 1 entry burn startup. Entry burn shutdown.
And with the conclusion of that first stage entry burn, we're now looking towards the landing burn. Just one of the engines will be brought back into play for the burn that will bring the booster down to the drone ship. Of course, I still love you.
Stage 1 FTS has safed.
That call, the flight termination system on the first stage booster has been safed. No longer needed at this stage in flight.
Stage 2 FTS has safed.
Stage 1 transonic.
Falcon booster traveling below the speed of sound now. Getting ready to cruise through the clouds and down towards the drone ship. Landing burn starting at about 5 seconds.
Stage 1 landing burn startup. Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And it appears a good landing of B-1088. Completing its 5th trip to space and back. Looking at the telemetry data for the first and second stages right now.
Good transfer orbit.
We didn't hear the call for MVAC shutdown, but we did hear that they achieved a good transfer orbit. That's the coast phase into which the upper stage goes, and it will continue to cruise until T plus 52 minutes and 57 seconds. Assuming all is well at that point, there will be a brief 2-second burn to circularize the orbit. And then all that's left at that point is to deploy the Starlink satellites at T plus 59 minutes and 51 seconds. And because SpaceX doesn't show satellite deployment for Starlinks in its live capacity, we'll have to wait for confirmation of good satellite deployment coming up here in a little less than an hour from now. Going to go ahead and turn over to our mission stats as they currently stand. But before we do, want to thank a few more folks for their support of this live coverage tonight. Thanks to Apocalypse Cow for 5 Spaceflight Now memberships that they gifted. Appreciate that generosity. And to our 5 newest channel members, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us. Be sure to thank Apocalypse Cow in the live chat if you haven't already. We hope you decide to stick around with channel membership. I also want to thank Haley Higgins for a $2 super chat. Says, love coverage. Haley, joining from Oceanside in California. Michael Dorner with a $20 super chat, joining us from Florianopolis, Brazil. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate your support at that level tonight. Meg McElroy, one of our wonderful channel members, with a $10 super chat, saying nice to see everyone tonight. Good to see you this evening, Meg. Thank you, Heidi, for the $5 super chat. Thank you, Ososos DLBKH, for the $10 super chat, saying thank you for the great coverage. Thank you for your support. Mitchell Wilbur, channel member, with a $20 super chat. Thank you, Mitchell, for your support at that level. It says, good job, mods, on Troll Patrol. Thanks to Ancient One as well for a $5 super chat, saying thanks for always bringing us these wonderful launches. You're very welcome. Thank you for your support tonight. And thanks to Deb for the $5 super chat, saying another great broadcast. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Deb, for the super chat and for your support as a channel member. Turning now to our mission stats as they currently stand with a good liftoff and landing of the first stage booster. That marks the 5th flight for B-1088. This was SpaceX's 455th Falcon 9 launch to date, the 38th of 2025. This was the 397th Falcon booster reflight, with a launch of a booster that has flown at least once. No Falcon Heavies or orbital starships yet, so this was the 38th orbital launch for SpaceX of the year so far. This was the 140th orbital launch for SpaceX within the last 365 days, the 118th orbital flight from Slick 4E, and the 207th overall orbital launch from that pad in Vandenberg as well. Taking a look, here's where our bar chart now stands. Moving right along to some recovery stats. This was the 123rd landing of a booster on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. It marked SpaceX's 339th drone ship landing and the 426th Falcon booster landing to date. Finally, with some industry stats, this was the 12th orbital launch from California so far, the 39th from U.S. soil, the 44th from a U.S. rocket company, and the 69th orbital launch from around the world. Still just the one mishap so far, and here's where the pie chart now stands. U.S. with 44 launches on the year, China with 18, Russia with 3, India, Japan, Europe, and Germany with 1 apiece. And with that, my friends, we're going to go ahead and depart from you for this evening. Remember, you can always hop on over to our website, spaceflightnow.com, to check out the launch schedule, let you know what's coming up, and as the things that are coming up often do change, you can help yourself stay well aware of what's coming down the orbital launch pike. Coming up next, as it currently stands, we have the Starlink 6-72 mission from here in Florida over at Pad 40. Weather looking quite good for that, albeit fairly windy. And then on April 7th, looking for the next Vandenberg launch, assuming all moves well with that, getting the drone ship back offloading the booster and then sending it back out to sea. Starlink 11-11, currently targeting nowhere earlier than April 7th. That's followed by some notable launches in the week to come. Over in Russia at the Baikonur Cosmodrome, the launch of the Soyuz MS-27 mission. A 3-man crew heading up to the International Space Station, including NASA's Johnny Kim, launching for his first space flight. And then the following day, on April 9th, the first Atlas V launch of the year and the first launch of Amazon's Kuiper 1 satellites. So, lots to look forward to. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, be sure to do that now and turn on notifications. And that way, you're not caught unawares when we start live coverage. I want to thank our wonderful mods in the live chat for helping us out tonight, being on Troll Patrol, as one of our commenters said. Our thanks to Clistia Lee, to Aussie Space Girl, Rick Donner, Mark Otto, Jeff Hansen. Appreciate all of you. Also want to thank behind the scenes John Pisani and Stephen Young for running the technical operations of the broadcast. Most importantly, want to thank you for wherever you've been watching from. Appreciate you stopping by here on a work or a school night. We look forward to welcoming you back the next time we've got an orbital launch to talk about. For all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith. Remember, be good to yourselves, be good to others, and we will see you next time, folks. And until then, bye-bye.